The year is 1948, a time of great change and uncertainty. The world is still licking its wounds from the Second World War, trying to rebuild and find a sense of normalcy. But a different kind of conflict is brewing. East versus West, democracy versus communism. The Cold War has begun. At the heart of this struggle is the Soviet Union, a land shrouded in secrecy and suspicion. Imagine a vast country stretching from the icy plains of Siberia to the Baltic Sea, a land of extremes and contrasts. This is a nation forged in revolution where fear and paranoia are tools of the state, used to control and manipulate. The Soviet Union under Stalin was a place of absolute power, where dissent was crushed without mercy. It was a place where anything was possible, even the unthinkable, where the boundaries of morality were often blurred. In the shadows of this totalitarian regime, a chilling experiment is about to unfold, one that will push the limits of human endurance and sanity. A secret laboratory, hidden deep within the Siberian wilderness, becomes the stage for a scientific endeavor that will test the very limits of human endurance and the human mind. This is the story of the Russian sleep experiment, a tale of horror and human experimentation. The Soviet military was obsessed with creating the perfect soldier. They wanted men who could fight for days without rest, without food, without fear. They believed that the key to achieving this was to conquer sleep. Imagine soldiers who could march for days, their minds unclouded by fatigue. Soldiers who could withstand interrogation without cracking. Soldiers who could push their bodies beyond the limits of human endurance. The possibilities were intoxicating. Scientists at a top-secret facility were tasked with developing a stimulant that could achieve this goal. They experimented with a cocktail of drugs, testing them on animals, observing the effects, refining their methods. But their ultimate goal lay in human trials, and they found their subjects in the most unfortunate of places. The subjects of the Russian sleep experiment were political prisoners, enemies of the state, men deemed expendable by the regime. They were promised freedom in exchange for their cooperation, a cruel lie that would seal their fate. Locked away in a secret facility, these men became lab rats in an experiment that would push them to the brink of insanity. They were confined to a sealed chamber, monitored through thick glass windows. The air was thick with the stench of fear and desperation. At first, the prisoners clung to the hope of freedom. They endured the relentless prodding and probing of the scientists, telling themselves that it would all be over soon. But as the days turned into nights and the gas continued to flow into their chamber, their hope began to dwindle. For the first few days, the effects of the stimulant were minimal. The prisoners, 5 in total, seemed relatively unaffected. They talked amongst themselves, ate their meals, even played cards to pass the time. All the while, the scientists observed, recorded, and waited. But as the days turned into a week, the gas began to take its toll. The prisoners' behavior became erratic. Their conversations grew strange. Paranoia set in. They became suspicious of each other, whispering conspiracies in hushed tones. The scientists, hidden behind their one-way glass, watched with morbid fascination. The experiment, it seemed, was working. Section 5. The gas. Whispers of horror, visions of terror. The exact nature of the gas used in the experiment remains a mystery. Some speculate it was a derivative of an amphetamine designed to stimulate the central nervous system and induce a state of prolonged wakefulness. Others believe it was something far more sinister. Whatever it was, the gas had a profound effect on the prisoners' minds. They began to experience vivid hallucinations. Their worst fears took shape in the shadows. The whispers started subtly, like insects crawling behind the walls. Then they grew louder, more insistent, until the prisoners were screaming at phantoms only they could see. The chamber, once a place of confinement, had transformed into a nightmare realm. Section 6. The breakdown from men to monsters. By the second week, the experiment had spiraled out of control. The prisoners' humanity had all but evaporated. They had become shadows of their former selves, driven by paranoia and rage. They tore at their own flesh, ripped their fingernails to the quick, clawed at the walls until their fingers bled. The screaming was relentless. It echoed through the observation chamber, a chilling symphony of madness. The scientists, once so eager to observe the effects of their creation, were now horrified by what they had unleashed. They pleaded with their superiors to end the experiment, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. The research, they were told, must continue. The chamber had become a charnel house, a testament to the horrors that humans could inflict upon one another. Section 7. The Aftermath, a glimpse behind the red door. After 15 harrowing days, the experiment came to an abrupt and bloody end, leaving a trail of chaos and destruction. Driven mad by the gas, the prisoners turned on each other, unleashing a torrent of violence that left only one survivor amidst the carnage. When the scientists finally entered the chamber, they were met with a scene of unimaginable carnage, a nightmare made real. The lone survivor, his mind shattered beyond repair, pleaded with the scientists to keep the gas flowing, his desperation palpable. He had seen things, experienced horrors that defied explanation and left him forever changed. He could no longer function without the stimulant that had become both his tormentor and his savior, a cruel paradox. The experiment, deemed a catastrophic failure, was shut down immediately, the equipment dismantled. The results, deemed too horrific for public consumption, were classified and locked away, never to be spoken of again. The surviving prisoner, his mind a wasteland, was lobotomized and left to rot in a Soviet mental asylum, forgotten by the world. The nightmare, it seemed, was over, the echoes of the past fading into silence. But some nightmares never truly end, lingering in the shadows, waiting to resurface. Section 8. Truth or Fiction? The Legacy of the Russian Sleep Experiment. The story of the Russian sleep experiment has become an internet legend, captivating the imaginations of horror enthusiasts and skeptics alike. A chilling tale, whispered in hushed tones, passed from one horror enthusiast to another. But is it true, or is it just another piece of internet folklore? The answer, like the gas that fueled the experiment, remains shrouded in mystery. No official records exist, and the lack of concrete evidence only adds to the enigma. No first-hand accounts have ever been verified, leaving us to wonder about the true origins of this story. The story, it seems, has become a cautionary tale, a warning about the dangers of unchecked scientific ambition and the horrors that can unfold when humanity is stripped away. It serves as a grim reminder of what can happen when ethical boundaries are crossed. The Russian sleep experiment may be a work of fiction, a product of creative minds seeking to explore the darkest corners of human nature. But the questions it raises about the limits of human endurance, the ethics of scientific exploration, and the monsters that lurk within the human psyche are all too real. What do you think? Could there be a grain of truth hidden within this terrifying tale?